Well, I appreciate your call, Jerry. It's a very serious issue. And the word I was looking for was ocean currents. They know where the currents are going. The currents sometimes change a little bit, but worldwide, these currents for thousands of years have been very, very accurate. To the point in the Atlantic, ships knew you go to this point, you get in this current, and it basically takes you here. And that's why sailing ships, it might take them 2 weeks to cross the Atlantic, but then it might take them 6 months to get back across because they didn't have favorable winds or currents. And they know where those currents. Here's the Gulf of Mexico, if you're watching on prisonplanet.tv. Here's Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. And the oil spills here off Mississippi, and the currents go down around the Keys, past Cuba. I mean, boy, Cuba and the Keys are really going to get it. And then because most of the oil's staying out to sea, and then it's going to go up, and then the currents come in very close to shore, all the way up the East Coast, up to Canada, and then up towards Greenland and Iceland and England and Northern Europe. And Northern Europe's going to be hit by this stuff in 3 or 4 months. And if that oil well just keeps going and going and going and going, there's just no telling the type of destruction it's going to cause. And then the whole world is going to want the American taxpayer to pay. You watch. Even though this is an international company. That's why it's dangerous to be blaming England for this, because if you can blame a nation, then you can blame a government rather than blaming these globalist corporations that are literally destroying our national governments. And I'm not defending our national governments. They're criminal as well. The point is, these corporations are even more lawless. Let's talk to Dave in Arizona. Dave, you're on the air with Lindsey-Williams. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. Hello, Lindsey. This is Dave out of Portside. Listen to you on 12.160. Lindsey, I have a question. In reference to the nuclear option, how many devices, how deep would they go? I assume that the nuclear devices would cause the whole thing to cave in on itself. Would it cause a tsunami? How big would the tsunami be, and would there be any fallout?
Some of those things they answered for me, some they did not. They merely said that they would angle drill down into the depth of the ocean. Now, understand, you've got 5,000-foot water here that they're going to have to start with before they can even do that angle drilling. Then when they angle drill down, they would go down, I don't know, they did not say how deep, and plant this nuclear device, and it would actually, what should I say, solidify the soil to the point that hopefully it would close off all this tissue that has developed in this monstrous dome that they have down there that they've hit that nobody's ever hit before. So what the results of this are going to be, it's really an unknown world. Nobody has ever charted this before.
Does that answer your question? Okay, I guess it does. Up next is Dave in Arizona. Dave, you're on the air with Lindsey-Williams. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Dick in Nevada. I already went to Dave. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, hello. Good to talk to you guys. I'm kind of curious that, they started talking about this hooded thing and trying to capture and save some of this, a couple months ago, and the use of other, countries and ships, that they could recover some of this stuff if they, wanted to make an attempt at it. It sure seems like they're using this as a convenient crisis. Probably going to sacrifice BP in the process, but in order to get this cap and trade or whatever tax they're going to jam on us. But with that hooded thing, it seemed to me like they would be able to pressurize and separate and save some of that oil, plus be able to probably burn off the other gases and the poisonous stuff.
Well, they admit now that they are going to create a flare to burn off. They were saying 10% of it, and they said they've got a hood over it that's getting some of the oil. There's just so much oil that it's basically trying to bail out a swimming pool using a teacup, and the swimming pool is always being refilled as you're there with a teacup trying to capture it. I mean, engineering-wise, though, it looks like it is a serious obstacle. And expanding on that, they did block the states. Lindsey, what's your take on that, how they block the states? One weekend, the states were wanting to go block their estuaries and protect the fisheries, protect the key areas in Louisiana, Mississippi. And the feds did come in and say, no, wait for our response. They did everything they could to block the response. Is that so there's a bigger disaster and the feds get more power? Because we saw the same thing with Katrina. What's your view on that?
Well, it's unbelievable that the federal government can override the state governments like this. State rights are being completely disregarded. And I think it's an atrocity. Every single politician up there should be thrown out, and we've got to start all over again. Our agencies have become little Hitlers, and will not even allow the states to do anything. I think it's an atrocity.
It is all about power. I appreciate the call, Dick. Anything else?
We need to get these corporate monopolies busted up and back to companies that are responsible and not be regionalized. Why do we got BP out in the Gulf and running our line up in Alaska and stuff?
Well, notice it's BP whose symbol is the green flower. They're the ones always pushing the environmental tyranny, and I think they're behind it. I mean, they gave orders that they knew were going to cause an explosion. Their oil company workers are on record saying, we knew this was going to happen, and you know, they can say, well, we didn't do it on purpose, but they knew, drilling enough of these super deep wells, that if they did this in an unconventional, half, you-know-what way, slip-shot way, that it was going to result in this, and now they're using it. There's no doubt they're using it. I appreciate your call. Good points, Dick. Stuart in Virginia, you're on the air with Lindsey Williams. Go ahead, Stuart.
Hey, Alex, first time to talk to you. You're an honorable guy doing a good job here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm sort of an inventor, so I kind of have a lot of understanding of mechanics and stuff like that. And I remember I listened to these guys. They had an interview on them from CNN, and these guys had survived the blast or whatever. And they asked them, what did it sound like? And one of the guys said it sounded like the tail of the beast or the devil, the dragon himself. Now, I'm not putting anything biblical into this, but what I'm saying is, he said, this was a seasoned oil guy, he said he was on the rig, he never heard anything like this in his life. He said it was like the pit of hell was coming out of that thing when it was burning. So I know at 30, you think this well, the pastor, you think this well was, he said it was 25,000 feet down?
Yeah, this well is 5,000 feet in the ocean. Then when they began at the ocean floor, they went between 25 and 30,000 feet when they hit this strata of oil. But the reason this gentleman heard things like that that's never been heard before, because from all of the sources that I can talk with, there has never been a well hit on the face of the earth that had between 20 and 70,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. This caused an explosion such as probably never been heard before.
Well, Lindsey, I like your analogy of being in a jet airplane at 33,000 feet. This well is 30,000 feet under the ocean floor, 5,000 feet of water above it. So that's a greater distance from being up in a jumbo jet looking down on mountains that look like little molehills. I mean, that is at a deep oil well, and they're finding incredibly high-pressured oil and gas 25, 30,000 feet down below the earth. I mean, there are so many mysteries of this world. And who knows what they're going to tap into one day drilling into the earth. I mean, man knows so little. And look at this disaster and think about all the nanotech, the genetic engineering, the cross-species manipulations, all of the disasters they've had. The Hadron Super Collider over in CERN, Switzerland, where their own scientists say, yeah, there's a small chance it could make a black hole or a singularity or a strangelet and could destroy the earth. I mean, it's a recklessness, and this just gives us an idea of bigger disasters to come as man's common sense doesn't match up to the incredible knowledge we've now gained, but not just the knowledge, the playing around in a fireworks factory with a flamethrower, not knowing what we're going to hit, what we're going to catch on fire. It seems like a ticking time bomb.
This is a super deep well. Please understand what BP has done here. They were copying the Russians because they knew that they could become the leader of oil production in the world next to Russia itself if they accomplish this. Super deep well. They are treading into areas that humankind has never treaded into before.
And the Russians, of course, 2 weeks. And, of course, the Russians 2 weeks ago released a film footage of them using a hydrogen bomb to put out one of these super deep wells on land. So, I mean, it's one thing to put one out on land using a nuke. It's another thing to do it in the ocean when you've already got all these fissures. This will probably just blow a bigger hole, and now you'll have a whole bunch of other strata of oil coming up out of it. And then BP will get what it wants. It'll get its carbon tax. And then they've already said they're going to create a subsidiary of BP. This company will be allowed to implode, and the money like Enron will move on to the next operation.